Hi, I'm Anthony from Sydney Backyard Veggies, back over at my broccoli patch, and I just had a check on them this morning and they actually are ready to be harvested. So I'm going to go through and harvest my first heads for the season for dinner tonight. But before I do that, I'm going to quickly show you what the patch looks like and then I'll go through and harvest a few of those heads. So just coming through to the patch, and I've been giving a few updates on this patch over the last few videos. This patch was planted out 26th of January as seedlings, and now they're starting to get ready to harvest. Got a few nice ones here, but the one that's really got me excited is this big one just over here. Now if you look at it, I'll put my hand next to it, it's perfect size. This is just on perfect, and possibly the one next to it as well. So I'm going to harvest at least two heads of broccoli, but I'm looking like I'm going to be harvesting most of these plants over the next week or so, which is great because I want to clear this bed and get it ready for broad beans. I'm going to come through and harvest a few, but before I go, the variety is Aurora. It's a warm season variety. These are planted in 3 rows, 40 centimeters apart, and you can see that the plants, just bring it closer here, at a 40 centimeter spacing. And just before I finish off, I just wanted to show everyone that at the spacing, the canopy, the leaf canopy sort of connects together, which is great to use it as a living mulch to protect your soil of the bed. So just a little tip if you're going to grow more broccoli this season. I'm going to come through now, I'm just going to harvest those heads and I'll show you my final result. So coming over to the first head, I'm going to come through and actually cut it quite low. I actually do enjoy eating the stalks, so just using my trusty shears. There you go, that's my beautiful head. Coming over to the second head, just one just adjacent to it. Again, coming down with my shears. There you go, beautiful. 2 heads. Now, I think that's enough for today. I think I've got a few more heads that need harvesting, but for now I'll leave them for tomorrow. I'll keep them fresh on the plant and I'll harvest them as I need it. I'll take these and get them ready. So I've got my broccoli, and what I'm going to do is just take out the outer leaves. I could keep these, but I'll generally just feed them to the chickens and add it to their green feed. But yeah, there you go, beautiful. So just looking at that, it's perfect, beautiful size. It's got a really good stem too, which we'll use in our cooking, but just wanted to show everyone. It's actually amazing. I really love getting the first broccolis of the season, and I'm really happy with how these ones have turned out. Still got one more. I'm going to quickly remove those leaves and then show you how they both look. There you go, 2 broccoli heads, perfect looking, exactly what I'm looking for. Going to take these inside. These are going to go for dinner tonight, so I really do enjoy harvesting within an hour of cooking them for dinner. It just really adds to that sweetness that comes out of the broccoli. I do have still, in the patch behind me, I still have 21 plants to go through in that patch, so I'll be harvesting those over the next 2 weeks. But I do also have another planting of 9 plants that should be ready to harvest in about 3 weeks time, and then likewise my third planting, which will be ready in about 4 weeks, and then the following planting in about 6 to 8 weeks. So the idea here in my garden is to constantly have broccoli in the patch from now till September, and then at which point I move to more summer veggies. But happy, here's to the first 2 broccoli for the season. Take them inside, have them for dinner, and I'll go feed the leaf materials to the chickens. I'm back out in the garden this afternoon. Now that we're coming into the end of March, early April, now is the perfect time for starting to plant out leafy greens. I'm over here at my north-facing garden bed, and this is where I previously had my zucchini plants planted out. What I'm going to be doing today is actually planting this season's coriander and rocket patches. I'm looking at doing 2 patches, probably having the rocket patch here at the front and the coriander at the back. And what I've done so far is I've actually turned over the bed and added some cow manure compost to the patch, and I've dug that all in. I'm going to come through now and actually start setting out the patches, but before I do that I will show you the varieties that I'm growing at the moment, and then I'll go through and start setting out the bed. So in this patch I'm going to be planting rocket and coriander, and the rocket variety I'm planting is the broadleaf variety of rockets. Now I buy my seeds in bulk packs, and I've had these seeds for about 3 years, and I've actually planted these out last season and they came out really well, and I was harvesting a lot of leaf throughout the winter months. For coriander, I just happy to plant whatever I could find at my local nursery. In this case I'll be planting DT Browns, but it's not really a variety as such, whatever seeds you can get. And I'll be trying to plant at least a couple of rows, but the idea is that I grow this season's coriander and freeze it for use in the rest of the year. So I'm going to come through now and start setting out my patch, and I will show you how I go about doing that. Just coming across here, what I'm going to be doing is just trying to build a few ridges around the patch, and the idea there is to make sure that the water catches within the patch, so when I water it, the water doesn't spill everywhere. So just bringing my rake, just gently just bringing it across the bed, just to build that edge. Edging, I'll come across, and I want to build the edging again this way, and I'm just slowly just using the back of that rake, then using the back of the rake, just trying to square it up, and then coming back to the other side again, continue building that edge, just gently raising that side. The idea is to have it as level as you can in the middle of the patch, but to have those rises at the edges. So coming through to plant my seeds, I'm going to put little indentations in, row indentations in the bed, and I'm looking at doing this at about 20 centimeters apart. And the reason why I do this, I like to plant my seeds in rows so that I can come through and thin them out as I need, and also weed in between the rows, which really helps. So I'm going to come through the back of my row, just gently form my first indentation, just coming across the bed. And then at 20 centimeter spacings, which is nominally half a rake, just there, put my second row in. Now, I find that when I'm planting out rocket, if I give them enough spacing between the rows, I find that I get a larger leaf, which is what I'm aiming for. But at the same time, it gives me the opportunity to put the irrigation line in between the rows too. So that's the idea. So I'm going to continue on showing. I might bring you a bit closer and show you how I'm actually locating these rows. Continuing on with my row set out again, halfway, just there, using my back of my rake, just putting that light indentation in. And that's done. Continuing on. So now that the rows are put in, I've got 2, 4, 6, 7 rows. I'm going to come through and plant them out. So when it comes to planting seeds, I just get a little small handful, and you can see they're actually quite small seeds, rocket seeds. What I'm trying to do is actually just try to put in a little covering of seeds in each row, and I try to do a little less than a little more, because I need to be able to, I don't want the plants to be too close together, and I'm going to have to come through and thin later. So I'd rather plant a little less than a little more, and just essentially just where I can, just a slight spray of seeds just along that row, and that's plenty. So I don't want to go too heavy, So now that the seeds are sown, what I'm going to do is just gently come across and just gently bring the soil back across on top of that plant. Just really gentle. Doesn't have to go too deep. Now I will come through gently later, and I'll just do it for here now. Just slightly pat that soil down, just to make sure there's a bit of contact between the soil and the seeds. But that's it. That's the extent that I do, and that's now planted out. I'm going to continue through and continue planting across the bed and continue planting the rows, and then I'll come through and show you how I water this bed, and there's a special technique to it, and I'll show you how I do that. So now that my patch is planted out, I need to water it in, and the key to watering it in at this point is to use a cotton cloth, or in this case it's an old bed sheet. And what I'll do is I'll put that over the bed, and then I'll water on that, and the idea there is that the water will seep slowly through the material and actually gently water this bed, rather than using a hose or a mister, which will dislodge those seeds. So what I'm going to do is, using the bed sheet, just going to spread it over the bed, trying to see if I can cover it without dislodging the seeds. There you go, just across the bed like that. And now, using my hose, I'm just going to gently wet the towel, and as I'm doing that, the water will seep through the cloth and water the seed bed. So now this bed has been watered, and the key now is to leave this cloth on this bed. And I'll leave this cloth on this bed for about 3 to 4 days. I'm expecting the rocket to start germinating in about 4 days time, so I want to take that off before it germinates. But the idea of keeping this cloth down is to keep the seed bed moist, but also to stop the birds and the ants actually collecting the seeds and eating them. So if you're having problems with seeds being eaten, it's actually a good idea to put a cloth down. Now I'll come back in a few days, I'll check on these, and hopefully in my next video I should be able to give you an update of how they've germinated. I'm going to continue on and plant out my coriander, and I'll show you the final results and how the bed looks at the end of that. So before I wrap up this video, I just want to give you an update on my rocket patch that I planted out. Now this is day 6, and it germinated about 2 days ago, and I've got nice looking rows coming through here, but we had a really big rain event in Sydney yesterday. We got close to 200 mils of rain, and unfortunately half of my plants got washed away in the rain. And I'll bring you closer and show you the damage that happened. So I may have to come through and replant, but I'll show you my rocket patch and show you how it looks at the moment. So as you can see, that's my rocket patch, and most of it did germinate. And you can just see the little rows that I planted out, that 20 centimeter spacings. But I also planted on this end a couple of rows of coriander, and unfortunately, because the rain was coming over from my neighbour's property, it's literally washed through my bed and actually destroyed that patch. And here, if you can get closer, most of it's turned up, but some areas, as you can see, it's all been a bit washed off as well. But look, that's gardening. I can only get so much. So I might be able to save this patch, but I will replant my coriander patch, very similar to how I planted out the rocket patch in this video. So you're at the mercy of the weather when you're planting your veggies. So glad that my rocket is still doing okay. But over the next few weeks, hopefully I can continue it on. If it doesn't struggle because of all the excess water, hopefully I can show you in future videos how I'm going to harvest it and look after it. So thank you very much everyone for joining me in this video. I really appreciate all the support, and I hope to see you in the next one.